What's up, guys? There are a few better things for all of you football fans than when your team acquires a superstar player in an unexpected blockbuster trade. And there are a few things as bad as when your team trades away a superstar when you least expect it. Using the imaginary and unofficial shockometer, we here at TPS came up with the most shocking trade in the history of all 32 NFL teams. Make sure to subscribe to TPS and put on your notifications. We post videos all the time. New videos all the time. Make sure to comment your video ideas down below. We'll be looking. If we choose your idea, we'll give you a shout out in the video. Arizona Cardinals, Kevin Kolb for DRC. Kurt Warner's retirement in 2010 left a gaping hole in the QB position for the Cardinals. During the 2011 offseason, Arizona decided to trade a stud cornerback in RODGERS-CROMARTIE, plus a 2012 second-rounder for Kolb. The latter had served as Michael Vick's backup in Philadelphia, losing his starting job after suffering an injury in Week 1. The cost for Kolb surprised a lot of people, and the trade didn't exactly work out for Arizona either. Kolb made just 14 starts in 2 seasons with the Redbirds, going 6-8 with 17 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. He last played in 2012. The Cardinals would later trade for Carson Palmer in the ensuing offseason. Atlanta Falcons, Brett Favre to the Pack. Atlanta believed they had found their quarterback of the future in 1991, when they drafted Brett Favre with the number 33 pick. However, Favre attempted just 4 passes in his rookie season, and Atlanta decided they had seen enough. Favre was traded to the Packers for a 1992 first-round pick, which became running back Tony Smith. How and why Atlanta would give up on a promising QB prospect after just 4 pass attempts was quite shocking. Baltimore Ravens, Anquan Boldin to San Fran. The Ravens acquired big and physical wideout Anquan Boldin in the 2010 offseason, and he became a huge weapon in their struggling passing game. Boldin was Baltimore's top wideout for 3 years, and he was instrumental in helping them win Super Bowl 47. Despite his heroics, the Ravens decided to undergo a youth movement, and Boldin was traded to the San Francisco 49ers just 1 month after leading them to a Super Bowl title, and the Ravens only got a 6th-round draft pick out of it. Buffalo Bills, the Cornelius Bennett blockbuster. The shockometer just about reached max level here. The LA Rams, Indianapolis Colts, and Buffalo Bills agreed to a blockbuster deal for the ages during the 1987 season. The Rams received Bills Pro Bowl running back Greg Bell, another running back in Owen Gill, and a bundle of draft picks. The Colts received future Hall of Fame running back Eric Dickerson. And finally, the Bills received rookie linebacker Cornelius Bennett from Indy. He was the number 2 pick in the 1987 draft. So much star power in one trade? Yeah. It's amazing how the Colts would surrender Bennett before he ever played it down for them. Well, Bennett was a 5-time Pro Bowler who led Buffalo to 4 Super Bowl appearances. He's enshrined in Canton right now. Carolina Panthers, getting Sean Gilbert from Redskins. The LA Rams drafted Gilbert with the number 3 pick in 1992, and he emerged as one of the game's premier pass rushers. Gilbert was a 93 Pro Bowler and looked to be the next franchise cornerstone in Washington. However, he sat out all of 1997 due to a contract dispute, and the Panthers took advantage of the situation. They acquired Gilbert for the whopping price of 2 first-round picks. He had some productive years in Carolina, but it probably wasn't worth those 2 first-rounders. Cincinnati Bengals, acquiring James Brooks. The Auburn product showed promise in his 3 years with the Chargers, but they didn't view him as a true Pro Bowl talent. So the team surrendered Brooks to the Cincinnati Bengals in exchange for veteran All-Pro running back Pete Johnson in 1984. Johnson would only play 1 more season in the NFL following the trade, but Brooks became a huge part of the Bengals offense, earning 4 Pro Bowl selections while recording a trio of 1,000-yard seasons. Brooks helped the Bengals reach Super Bowl 23, where they fell to the 49ers. Chicago Bears, Khalil Mack. The Oakland Raiders gave John Gruden $100 million to come back to coaching in 2018, but he wouldn't give 2016 Defensive Player of the Year Khalil Mack a new contract. The latter held out, and he held out, and he held out some more. Finally, the Bears stepped up and acquired Mack and 2 draft picks in exchange for 2019 and 2020 first-rounders, as well as a 2019 6th-rounder and a 2020 third-round choice. Mack then inked a monstrous 6-year, $141 million extension. Not very often where a team surrenders an elite franchise-changing defensive player in his prime. Cleveland Browns, Trent Richardson to Colts. The Browns drafted the Alabama running back with the number 3 pick in 2012. Richardson had a productive rookie year with 950 rushing yards and 11 touchdowns, while adding 51 catches for 367 yards and 1 touchdown. But just 2 games into the 2013 season. Richardson was traded to the Colts for a first rounder. Since when did a team send away a rising star entering their second year? Well, the trade was a flop for both teams. Richardson lasted just 2 years with the Colts and was out of the league by 2014. Cleveland got Johnny Manziel with the pick they acquired from Indy, but that didn't work out for them either. Dallas Cowboys, the Herschel Walker trade. The 1982 Heisman Trophy winner enjoyed 2 Pro Bowl seasons with the Dallas Cowboys, but nobody could have expected that Walker would turn Big D into a dynasty. Yet that's exactly what happened. Kind of. During the 1989 season, the Cowboys traded Walker and a few picks to the Minnesota Vikings in exchange for a bundle of players and draft choices, including 3 first and 3 second rounders. Dallas turned some of these picks into Emmitt Smith, Darren Woodson, Russell Maryland, and Kevin Smith. All 4 played integral parts of the Cowboys' 90s dynasty that won 3 Super Bowls. So yeah, the Cowboys have Walker to thank for their dynasty. Denver Broncos acquiring John Elway. The Baltimore Colts drafted Elway first overall in 1983, but he had no interest in playing for the organization. The Broncos stepped forward and acquired Elway for offensive lineman Chris Herman, as well as quarterback Mark Herman and a 1984 first rounder. All Elway did was become the greatest player in Broncos history, leading them to 5 Super Bowl appearances and winning it all twice. Elway became the Broncos president after his playing career and built their Super Bowl 50 championship team. Yeah, we say the trade worked out nicely for Denver. Detroit Lions, Bobby Lane to Steelers. Lions legend Bobby Lane was one of the NFL's top quarterbacks of the 50s. The 6-time Pro Bowler led Detroit to 3 NFL championships, and he was a 3-time first-team All-Pro. But a year after leading the Lions to their 3rd NFL championship in 1957, Lane was sent to the Steelers in a downright shocking move. Lane was still in his prime and continued to perform at high level following the trade. The Lions haven't won a championship since trading Lane, and they have just 1 playoff win since the move. If only they could get their hands on a time machine. Green Bay Packers acquiring John HADL. The Packers were looking for a new quarterback to steer them into the new era following Bart Starr's retirement in 1972. They became enamored with John HADL, the 2-time Pro Bowl QB who led the San Diego Chargers to a 1963 AFL championship. The Packers gave a giant package to get him from the LA Rams in 1974. They gave up 2 firsts, a pair of second rounders, plus a 3rd round choice for him. The trade looked like a massive mistake at the time, and it turned out to be just that. HADL lasted just 2 years in Green Bay, posting a 7-12 record with 9 touchdowns against a whopping 29 interceptions. Brett Favre wouldn't arrive to save the day until 1992. Houston Texans, Jadeveon Clowney heads to Seattle. The top pick from the 2014 draft earned 3 Pro Bowl selections in Houston, forming a lethal pass rushing duo with J.J. Watt. But Clowney and the Texans couldn't reach a new deal after the franchise tag was placed on him in 2019 offseason. So before week 1, Houston sent Clowney to Seattle for Barkevious Mingo, Jacob Martin, and a 3rd round pick. It was quite the underwhelming return for the Texans, that's to say the least. Indianapolis Colts, sending Marshall Faulk to the Rams. Faulk spent 5 seasons with the Colts and earned 3 Pro Bowl selections while reaching 1,000 yards 4 times. He and Peyton Manning appeared to be the next great offensive duo in the NFL. But following a contract dispute, Faulk was sent to the St. Louis Rams in 1999. He won a Super Bowl there in his first year and embarked on a Hall of Fame career. The Colts would find a suitable replacement in James, but the fans still couldn't believe that the team would trade away a superstar in his prime, rather than simply pay him. Jacksonville Jaguars, trading up for Blaine Gabbert. The Jaguars decided to enter the 2011 draft in need of a new quarterback. They swung a deal with the Washington Redskins to move up and take Blaine Gabbert 10th overall, surrendering number 16 and number 49 selections. It was quite a price to pay for a QB that came with a lot of question marks. And sure enough, it turned out to be a mistake on Jacksonville's end. Gabbert struggled big time and lasted just 3 seasons in Duval County. His career has since consisted of backup roles with multiple teams. Kansas City Chiefs, Joe Montana. Elbow surgery forced Joe Montana to miss 2 years, and Steve Young took over as the star in San Francisco. The 49ers made the daring move and dealt away Joe Cool to Kansas City, along with a 3rd rounder and David Whitmore for a 1st round pick. The trade sent shockwaves across the league. It was impossible to imagine Joe Cool in another uniform. At any rate, Montana took KC to the playoffs in his 2 years there, including the 1993 AFC Championship game. He retired after the 1994 season. Los Angeles Chargers, Eli for Rivers. The Chargers drafted Eli Manning 1st overall in 2004, but he had no intentions of playing there, so they reached a blockbuster deal with the New York Giants. Eli headed to the Big Apple, while Phillip Rivers, whom the Giants selected 4th overall, was sent to the Chargers. The trade has worked out nicely for both teams. Rivers turned the Chargers into a juggernaut and led them to the 2007 AFC Championship game. Although Eli hasn't been dominant nor productive as Rivers from a statistical standpoint, he's the one with 2 Super Bowl championships and Super Bowl MVP awards on his resume. Oh, and he also beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl. It was an unorthodox trade, that's to say the least. But neither team is complaining about it. I mean, the Chargers might be, but who knows. Los Angeles Rams. Eric Dickerson to Colts. We discussed this on the Bills entry earlier, so yeah, everybody was shocked when Indy sent Cornelius Bennett to Buffalo in the 3-way trade. Dickerson was the engine of the Rams offense for 4 years, but the Rams weren't able to end a contract dispute with him. Well, the Rams did get a lot of picks and some good production out of Greg Bell, who came over from Buffalo as part of the trade, so there aren't any complaints in Rams land. Miami Dolphins landing Paul Warfield. Warfield was a perennial Pro Bowler and first-team All-Pro with the Cleveland Browns in the Jim Brown era. The two guided the team to a 1964 NFL championship. Warfield looked like somebody the Browns would build around for years to come, even after Jim Brown was gone. But ahead of the 1970 season, Don Shula acquired Warfield in a trade with Cleveland to join his budding powerhouse. Warfield became a huge part of Miami's passing game, and he played a key role in helping them win 2 Super Bowl championships. Talk to any Dolphins fan from that era, and they'll tell you how amazing a coup this was for their team. It's amazing how they got Warfield at such a good price. Minnesota Vikings sending Randy Moss to Oakland. Moss stepped onto the NFL field as a rookie in 1998, and he was instrumental in leading the Vikings to a pair of NFC Championship games. As Jerry Rice began to decline, Moss had asserted himself as the best wideout in football, forming a dangerous duo with Dante Culpepper. But in a shocking move, Minnie sent Moss to the Oakland Raiders in the 2005 offseason. In return, they got Napoleon Harris and a number 7 pick, which they used on wideout Troy Williamson. Let's just say the trade was a bust for both teams. Moss eventually rejoined Minnesota for 4 games in 2010, after he wore out his welcome in New England. New England Patriots landing Randy Moss from Oakland. Hey look, back-to-back appearances for Moss. Pretty cool, I guess. Moss spent 2 frustrating seasons on the lowly Raiders in 2005 and 06, and they were looking to move on from him. Bill Belichick stepped up and acquired Moss for the mere return of a 4th-round pick. Remember, this was at a time where Belichick hadn't yet taken on too many players with a ton of baggage. So yes, the trade was quite a shock at the time. Moss caught a record 23 touchdown passes in the 2007 season. The Patriots entered Super Bowl 42 with a perfect 18-0 record, but they lost to the New York Giants in the big game. At least the Pats managed to save Moss' career when it looked like it was sort of winding down. New Orleans Saints, the Ricky Williams trade. Saints head coach Mike Ditka wanted Texas running back Ricky Williams badly, so he sacrificed his entire future to move up the number 5 spot in the 99 draft. Ditka acquired the pick from Washington in exchange for all 6 of the Saints draft choices in 1999, plus their 2000 first and third rounders. Wow. Who would do that? A trade like this had never been seen before. Williams had 2 1,000-yard seasons in New Orleans, but he lasted just 3 years before being traded to the Miami Dolphins. So yeah, the shocking trade didn't quite work out for them, like at all. New York Giants acquiring Y.A. Tittle from San Fran. The NFL legend was one of the more prolific passers of the 50s for the San Francisco 49ers, earning 4 Pro Bowl selections. He was the player this franchise needed to eventually win a championship. He enjoyed 4 productive years with the Giants, earning 3 more Pro Bowl selections and the 1963 AP MVP award. He also led the G-Men to 3 NFL championship games, though they lost all of them. Still, the shocking trade worked out nicely for New York. New York Jets, Brett Favre. The Packers legend announced his plans to retire in the 2008 offseason. The Packers decided to roll with Aaron Rodgers as their starter from there on out. However, Favre decided he wanted to keep playing, but Green Bay had already settled on Rodgers. So the long struggling Jets made a big move and acquired Favre for a 3rd-round pick. The perennial Pro Bowler struggled quite a bit as the Jets finished with a mere 9-7 record. Favre would play his final 2 seasons with the Vikings before retiring. Oakland Raiders, Antonio Brown. The perennial Pro Bowl wideout forced a trade from the Pittsburgh Steelers after clashing with Ben Roethlisberger. Everybody was surprised when Brown accepted a trade to the rebuilding Raiders for a 3rd and 5th round pick. As we all know, AB caused so much trouble there and was eventually released before the 2019 season began. He signed with the Patriots and played 1 game before a series of lawsuits and sexual assault allegations led to his release. And he's just doing whatever now, who cares? Philadelphia Eagles, trading up for Carson Wentz. The Browns had moved on from Johnny Manziel, and the number 2 pick in the 2016 draft presented them the chance to come away with Jared Goff or Carson Wentz. Or not. The Eagles shocked the football world by acquiring the number 2 pick from Cleveland in exchange for their 2016 1st and 3rd and 4th round picks, plus a 2017 first rounder and 2018 second rounder. It was a huge home run for the Eagles. Wentz quickly developed into a star quarterback and enjoyed an MVP caliber season in 2017 before suffering a season-ending ACL tear. Of course, Nick Foles led Philly to its first Super Bowl championship in place of Wentz. But Carson is still in fine position to lead this team to even more titles down the road. Pittsburgh Steelers, a rival of the bus. Jerome Bettis was a star running back for the LA Rams, rushing for over 1,000 yards in his rookie and sophomore years. The Rams were enamored with Nebraska running back Lawrence Phillips ahead of the 1996 draft. This was despite the fact that Phillips was charged with 2 separate assault cases while in college nonetheless. The Rams drafted Phillips 6th overall and traded Bettis and a 3rd round pick to the Steelers for 2nd and 4th round choices. Well, Bettis endured a Hall of Fame career and led Pittsburgh to a Super Bowl 40 championship in his swan song year. Phillips lasted just 2 seasons with the Rams, and that's about it. San Francisco 49ers, acquiring O.J. Simpson. The Juice was a 5-time Pro Bowl running back for the Buffalo Bills, winning the 1973 MVP and Offensive Player of the Year awards. On top of that, Simpson led the league in rushing yards 4 times. But with injuries and age starting to take a toll on Simpson, the Bills decided to move on. They sent him to the San Francisco 49ers in 1978, receiving a giant haul of 5 draft choices in return. This included the #1 overall pick in 1979. Simpson was well past his prime and played 2 seasons in San Francisco before retiring. And the rest, well, you know. Seattle Seahawks, sending Rick Meyer to Chicago. The Seahawks drafted him 2nd overall in 1993, but the Notre Dame product struggled mightily at the NFL level. In 4 seasons with Seattle, he posted a 20-31 record with 41 touchdowns against 56 interceptions. And yet the Seahawks were able to unload him along with a 4th round pick to the Chicago Bears during the 1997 offseason for a tremendous return of a 1st round pick. Well, he never found his form in Chicago. Seattle used the 1997 pick obtained in the trade to select Sean Springs, who became a standout Pro Bowler and a key part of their secondary. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, getting John Gruden from Oakland. Coach Gruden revived the Raiders and turned Rich Gannon into a star quarterback late in his career. But after Oakland lost in the gut-wrenching Tuck Rule game, Gruden and owner Al Davis had a falling out. And so Gruden was traded to the Buccaneers in exchange for 4 draft picks, as well as 2 firsts and 2 seconds. Tampa then gave Gruden a 5-year deal worth $17.5 million. It was certainly a hefty price for a coach who had yet to win a Super Bowl, but it sure worked out nicely. Gruden turned Tampa's defense into a juggernaut in 2002, and they went on to crush his old Raiders team in Super Bowl 37. It was the first Lombardi trophy in Tampa's history. Life's a full circle, folks. Gruden would come back to coach the Raiders in 2018, signing a $100 million contract. It's a lot of money. Tennessee Titans, Earl Campbell to Saints. Hall of Fame running back Earl Campbell was a 5-time Pro Bowler for the Houston Oilers franchise. He won 3 Offensive Player of the Year awards and was named 1979 MVP. He led the league in rushing yards 3 times as well. But the Oilers moved on from the franchise star and sent Campbell to New Orleans for a 1985 first-round pick. Well, Campbell just lasted 2 seasons with the Saints before retiring. Houston used the pick on cornerback Richard Johnson, who spent 8 years with the franchise. Washington Redskins, the RG3 trade. The Redskins coveted both Andrew Luck and Robert Griffin III in the 2012 draft. So they acquired the #2 pick from the St. Louis Rams in exchange for their 2012, 13, and 14 first rounders plus a 2012 second rounder. After the Colts took Luck 1st overall, Washington settled on RG3. He won the Offensive Rookie of the Year award and led the Redskins to an NFC East division title. Injuries sadly derailed his career, and he was done in DC after just 4 years. RG3 has since taken up a couple of backup QB gigs around the league, but no starting gigs. What do you think is the most shocking trade in your favorite NFL team's history? Join me in the comment section below. Make sure to follow myself and TPS on social media. We post great content all the time. And make sure to subscribe to TPS because we also post great content all the time. Sports content all the time. If you like this video, give it a like. It takes 1 click right down there. Of course, thank you so much for watching. I'm Jason Biondo. I'll see you next time.
On my knee.